All right, podcast family. My name is Stallone-Obaraemi Samuel, and welcome to the podcast today. It's actually the Positive Alteration School. What we do basically is to see how we can alter the way people think positively so that they can be better versions of themselves eventually. The focus of this podcast is around leadership influence through communication and public speaking. And I am so excited today. I have never been this excited in any of my podcasts. Some people would say, Stallone, you're always excited at every podcast. Yes. Did I stop being excited at any episode? Then there's no need doing the podcast. All right. So I'm excited because I have a friend here. I have a brother. We've done things together, run projects together. And he is particularly interested and enthusiastic when it comes to public speaking. So I have my friend here, Blair Dall. Blair, how are you doing?
I'm very well, Sloan. I'm very well. How are you today?
I am doing well. Trust me, I am gliding gracefully.
As always, as always.
Okay, so just for introductory purposes, just tell us about you. Tell the viewers about you. Who is Blair Dall?
Who is Blair? That's a great question. So, yeah, nice to meet everyone. My name's Blair. I am very interested in public speaking, as Stallone mentioned at the start of the video. I used to be someone that wasn't very good at public speaking. I don't think that anyone that does public speaking is initially good, but like everything in life, it's a skill that can be learned. So I've been doing public speaking since I was 19, and yeah, it's been something that I've been very passionate about for the past few years. Went on from being someone that wasn't very good to being the club president of Haymarket Toastmasters, which is where I met Stallone. And as I said, it's just a massive passion of mine to now help people with it and also improve my own skills while doing so as well.
Thank you very much. And I tell you, Blair is one charismatic person I have met. I've been to the Haymarket Toastmasters Club, and I see the crowd there. I see how when he was president, people rallied around him. He gets things done. I've also, well, we'll get down to projects that you have done eventually. I know that we've been engaged in a particular project where you've been brought from nowhere and dropped in, and you ran it, and you were quite successful. But looking back to this particular moment, Blair, when we talk about public speaking, your career as a person and growth as a person, to what extent would you say, how has public speaking and communication really been part of or been pivotal in your growth or
It's
success?
a great question. I would say it is the number one thing that you can do to improve yourself. Learning good communication skills, learning how to communicate, it affects every single part of your life, from your relationships, your business, everything. So it's massively helped me. I would say it's completely transformed my life. And that's why Stallone, we're so passionate about it, because we know how much it can improve you. So yeah, it's completely life-changing, and it's definitely a skill that's worth learning if it's not something you've done before.
True. I know that when we talk about public speaking, or when people think about, okay, we're talking about those guys on the stage, but I've personally made it my mission to get people to understand public speaking is not just when you're on the stage, a place of work, when you meet people, when you meet the receptionist, you meet the guy that's sweeping, the lady that's taking care of stuff around the corner, and you talk to them, you are speaking in public. I remember my daughter would say, do you have to talk to everyone? Because I walk into a place, and one of the first things I do, I try to look at your badge. Oh, your name is Linda. I say, hey, Linda, how are you doing? And when I say, how are you doing? I'm not saying, how are you doing? And walking away, I'm saying, how are you doing? And I'm waiting for a response. And she said, yeah, good. I said, it's a warm weather. So do you have any plans today? I'm trying to strike a conversation to get people to understand, okay, you mean something, you are important. And that's why I want to invest this time to connect with you. So truth, like you said, public speaking is really important as we grow. I'd ask you, as someone who is very passionate about communication, have you had times when there's been some sort of myth? There's been a lot of myths here and there about communication, public speaking. All right. One of which is it is only for extroverted people. Have you had any of those myths or maybe misconceptions or whatever taking hold of you and sometimes affecting how you have acted or progressed?
I 100% Stallone. So I would say the biggest misconceptions around public speaking is number one, it's only for extroverts, or it's only for people that do TED Talks or public speakers. They're the only
Mm.
people that do public speaking. Or what another thing you typically find is I had to do a public speech for my university degree, or I
Okay.
had to do public speaking as my best man was getting married. So the biggest misconception is what is out there. Toastmasters is something that I'm really passionate about, as are you, Stone, as well. And
Mm.
it's something that we're wanting to educate people on so that they can all learn public speaking from all walks of life. It's not something that you have to do because it's part of a university degree, or you have to do it because your best friend's getting married. It's something that you can
Correct.
enjoy doing and get the benefits from, like we were saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if we take this to the place of work, you are someone that deals with people a lot. You deal with customers, clients, and it's never an easy place to be in. All right. Trying to solve problems. And sometimes for someone who is in a position where you deal with clients, sometimes what clients are telling you is their problem. It's not actually their problem. They have some other stuff at home, but they're looking for where to dump it without them knowing that they're actually looking for a way to dump it on you. But communication comes into play. How does communication at your place of work help you to progress, to grow? How has it helped you to manage the everyday challenges of life at work?
Yeah, it's key, Stallone, to being successful in work and in any aspect. It's key. And like what you said, it's about well, a famous saying that I've always heard is that you've got two ears and one mouth.
Mm,
And what I mean by that is that it's very, very important to be good at speaking, but it's also very important to listen and
true,
listen to people's
true.
listen to people's problems and understand where people are coming from and why they're behaving the way they are. Because like what you were saying, they might be behaving in a certain way, and it's nothing to do with you. It could be they've got things going on. So it's about being empathetic and listening, and it definitely having good communication skills, in my opinion, is what the fundamental to a successful, happy life, and it's definitely something that I would urge anyone to work on.
True. I like what you said. Having good communication skills form the foundation for success in life. I was delivering a speech the other day, and then after I was called to deliver a speech, and after that, we're having some side talks, and something came up. We started talking, and this thought just jumped into my head, and I popped the question, which is, why would you destroy a relationship you've invested so much into just because you failed to communicate appropriately? Just because you failed to connect? Because many times, broken relationships at work, in the family, personal relationships, and all of that, to a large degree, boils down to the inability of one or both parties to communicate appropriately. So I totally do agree with what you've said, that communication, the ability to communicate well, plays a significant role in whether we grow or we don't. Even at place of work, you find people that communicate well, they tend to find a way to progress. They tend to find a way to just go up, and and you say, man, this guy is not necessarily better than me, but the point is he communicates better, he connects better. Now, that brings me to the question, Blair. Why will people not pay attention? Why do people not pay attention to something as significant as communication? Just the ability to communicate or speak in public.
So I would say from like a younger generation, I just feel that it's not as publicized because we're kind of brainwashed to a certain degree, the younger generation, that's all
Mhm.
about who can be the best looking. You see shows like Love Island, it's all based on looks and these social media apps. But I think that the awareness of good communication skills, or not even just the awareness, but the actual benefits, like what we're saying about how you can go into a place of work and build that relationships with people. I just think that because of social media, it's more looks-based rather than skills-based and learning good communication skills. And that's what we're here to do, Stallone, is to kind of give people that education.
Yeah. Man, you've really touched on some key things. We live in a world that is more looks based. It's about looks. It's not about skills. Oh, that makes sense. And that's why you get on a bus or you get on a train and everybody's on their phone, they're on social media, they are scrolling through one thing or the other. And sometimes you strike a conversation and people are not ready to talk. Well, people have different challenges. I'm not taking that away, but it's hard to get people to get into a conversation. And getting into a conversation is one thing. Holding the conversation for 5-10 minutes is a whole different ballgame.
Indeed.
A whole different ballgame. You have experienced it. Sometimes for people to speak for 2 minutes on a very simple subject, some would rather die than come out and do that. So it's a worry for people like me, and I'm sure for you, when people just cannot communicate. But it's something that struck me in the course of you answering the last question. We talked about the younger generation, and that brings me to, in the world of AI, which we're all harnessing and it's doing a whole lot of good, I want to ask you, what trends do you think will shape the future of communication and public speaking? Which the way it is, you can just give a prompt and chat GPT would just boom, give you a whole book written out. And where are we going? How far do you think this can affect us?
So I like to think of things, Stallone, as always a negative and there's always a positive in any situation. So although there can be a lot of negatives and positives in social media, I would like to take it from a positive standpoint. So what I hope, to answer your question, is I hope that because of TikTok, because of ChatGPT and all of these AI systems, that because Toastmasters, in my opinion, isn't something that's very well educated. So what I hope happens is that by the use of technology, that wider spread knowledge on public speaking can become a more well-known thing.
Good. Thank you very much. For your response. I've also thought about this. It causes me to think, to say, with a world where my kids, the same thing, you give them an assignment and boom, they're back. They've done it. And I say, how did you do that? Oh, Dad, well, I also know how AI works. So you give them a mathematical question and boom, they're back with the answer. And I say, okay, really. So walk me through the steps. How did you do that? No ways, but they have an answer. So we are in that world. Like you said, it's good for us to look at it from the positive side. But again, I would argue that when it comes to public speaking, which I have always said is an art, it's like you're performing. It's like you're an actor, you're a musician, you're a singer. There's a whole lot that goes into bringing a speech from wherever it is, from the mental realm to physical realm, where people feel and understand the message. So in that case, I think the message we as practitioners of public speaking and communications to get people to understand is that AI is beautiful, but it can't take the part of human connection. Let me give you an example. When you get online and you're looking for something, and then a bot pops up, and then on this other side, they say you can talk to a customer service agent. Who are you? Where are you automatically tilted towards? It's a human side.
Of course.
Okay. Yeah, it's a human side. So nothing can take away the part of communication and connection. And that brings me to asking you, Blair. You are very passionate. We've had a lot of conversations back and forth, you and I. Has there ever been a time as a communicator where you got on stage, you have a speech, and boom, something goes wrong?
It happens more often than what you think, and I'm sure that you're aware of this. So let me just digress into what I mean. So let's just say, Stallone, that you've got a presentation that you have to give at work, and it's maybe a 20-minute presentation. So you've word by word, you've wrote the speech out, you're thinking, I'm going to say this and I'm going to say that. But you and I both know when it comes to delivering that speech, it is very unlikely that you'll say it word by word. And it can happen a lot. So my advice to anyone is that when they are speaking and when they are presenting, is get someone to video you doing it. Because anything that goes wrong, number one, you're always your worst enemy in your head. So you might think, oh, I should have said this, but I actually said this, and it was a disaster. But we actually watch it back. It was beautiful. It was good. So that's always key. And I think as well that you are going to make mistakes at public speaking, like in all things in life, you're always going to make mistakes. But the value is not in making the mistake, it's how do you learn and how do you grow? And when you have that growth mindset, no matter what happens, you're going to become successful.
Correct. So what you're saying, Blair, is making mistakes on stage is not something any of us can avoid. It will happen. Is that what you're saying?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. It's something that would definitely happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that we understand that bit, so people should not be afraid to go online, to go ahead and take their steps to go ahead and there's a distraction. Somebody's coming in. Can you hear me now?
I've lost your face, though, and I can only see the background now.
Okay, just give me a moment. All right. Can you see me now?
It's went on a side angle.
Oh man. Okay. Just a moment. Let's see what happened. Sorry.
No, you're okay.
Okay. Let me see. How did this happen? Okay. Can you see me now?
Yeah,
Is it good?
perfect.
All right, good. Okay, great stuff. I had a call coming in we'll work that out. Okay, so we were saying that it's important for people to understand that you can make mistakes on stage. I used to have a coach back in the day when I started my journey in public speaking. He would say, Stallone, if you're going to do a presentation, you must do the following things. That was when internet wasn't the way it is today, technology wasn't the way it is today. He would say, send your presentation, your PowerPoint presentation, send it via email. Have the PowerPoint presentation on your laptop. Have it on your flash drive. Those were the days when flash drives were quite popular. On your flash drive. Number 4, print it. Print the presentation. Because I was talking back in Africa when sometimes there could be power outage and boom, you we can't get your presentation. Oh, we're sorry, give us a minute. So you have a hard copy you can use. But number 5, he would say, know the presentation. So here is the example he would tell me. He would usually say, Stallone, you're going on the road, something happens, there's an accident, but nothing happens to you, but your briefcase is lost. You manage to get to the venue, but you have to present. People are seated waiting for you. What would you do? Say you lost your briefcase, or for certain reasons, they are unable to download your presentation. What would you do? Have that kind of mentality when you prepare. So it's important also, you would agree that people prepare so well that even if anything happens, they will still deliver on their mandate.
Exactly. That is exactly the case, Stallone. That is it.
Beautiful. Do you ever get afraid? Do you ever feel anxious when you want to get on stage to speak?
Truthfully, I don't anymore. Depending on how large the stage is will depend, of course. But there are times where I will get a bit of nerves, of course. But the reason why, Stallone, that I'm able to not feel as afraid as how I used to is by desensitization. When I first started, I was extremely nervous. I was a terrible speaker. But over time, you get less and less scared, more and more confident, more and more confident. And the true beauty of that is it then transfers into other areas of your life as well. But overall, I don't get nervous. There will be times, of course, where everyone does. But the reason why I don't get as nervous as what I used to is because I've desensitized myself to it by a prolonged period of feeling nervous. And over time, it gets less and less.
Beautiful. So that's on stage. What about your social life? and work at work, if you have to approach someone to communicate, to talk to someone, how has this do you feel that do you feel that nerve? Do you feel anxious?
Well, that's the whole beauty of public speaking, is that
Yeah.
if you can present in front of 30 or 40 people, then approaching someone that's in a higher up position than you in work, or speaking to someone that's a high network client, that feeling of nervousness that I may have had a few years ago is just less. And that's because I've done public speaking. So the true beauty of public speaking, and one of the main benefits of learning public speaking, is that confidence carries with you into all areas of your life. So as I said, if you take someone that has never done public speaking and you say to them, approach that senior person in work, the nerves kick in. But because you've desensitized yourself to that nervous act by doing public speaking, it doesn't seem as insignificant, if that makes sense.
Okay, beautiful. Yes, absolutely does make sense. But I want to ask you, for the person who's probably watching this, is so scared when it comes to public speaking, is scared about public speaking, or scared of public speaking. When you've been using the expression desensitize yourself, and that person that is new is saying, okay, what on earth do you mean by desensitize yourself? How do I desensitize myself? How do I kill this fear? How do I manage it?
That's a great question. So it's understanding, Stallone, that Rome wasn't built in a day. And it's going to be a journey to get to that stage of being desensitized, because when I first started, as I said, I was extremely nervous. I couldn't speak and I couldn't present. And I don't know about you, Stallone, but I'm assuming that you might have been of a similar. It's hard to see, but you never know.
I used to be really shy.
Don't
And
believe
people
it.
don't believe it though.
Yeah. Well, that's the power of public speaking, though, isn't it? If you used to be shy, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
I used to be shy, and then I had I'd give much of the credit to my late father. I used to be shy, but he wanted me, for whatever reason, he wanted me to be good at public speaking. I don't think he understood public speaking as it is today, but he wanted me to be able to express myself if the need arose at the time. And so he would take me to, after school, he would take me to his office. He taught me how to read, and then he would write out short presentations. He would give me passages to just read the passages. I didn't know what I was doing. I'll tell you, true story. The first time I ever spoke in public, I spoke in front of, give and take, probably about 125 people or so, and I spoke for 5 minutes, which today, understanding the power of public speaking, 5 minutes is a long time. But as a kid, I think I was about 9, 11, and I had this presentation. It was just like a kid, you have a presentation, all written, you have to commit it to memory and go and present it. And I did that. And by the time I came down from the podium, from the platform, and people were applauding and clapping, the whole place is just going, really excited, people were. And my father, I came and I sat beside my father. And my father was the only person that seemed not to be very excited. And so I sat behind him. I was hoping that he was going to put his arm around me and say, hey, boy, you've done really good. And he just looked at me and said, you know, when people clap you, it simply means you've got more to do. He was this cold. He just said it, you know, when people applaud, it simply means you've got more to do. You realize that. Don't let the clap, he told me, he said, don't let them clap you off the stage. Those were his words. Don't let people clap you off the stage. It means don't let, so my understanding of that over the years dealing with my late dad was, don't let the fact that this is, whoa, the standing ovation and everything get into your head. You just haven't started. I know my father didn't understand what public speaking is as we know it today, but he was just someone who felt you should be able to communicate and express yourself. So I think he was the first person that gave me that platform without necessarily knowing what he was doing. I used to be really shy, trust me.
Well, it's hard to believe, Stallone, but like you said, the fact that you used to be very shy and to see yourself now as the charismatic and amazing leader that you are, it's motivational. So
Yeah.
the viewers can take a lot from you, Stallone. They definitely.
Yes. Yes, and I'm grateful for that. Then when I started my journey, even with when I started engaging in public speaking, training myself, I then had this plan. That's for the person listening out there. I'm saying, what do I need to do? I think one thing that many of us, even Blair, you've done and think you're still doing is we seek out opportunities to speak. That's it. Seek out opportunities to do 1 minute speech, 2 minute speech. It's like driving. You cannot learn how to drive by reading books. No way. You've got to get behind the steering. You've got to get scared on the road. You've got to get confused when you get to the roundabouts, when you get to the junctions. All that nerve needs to kick in, and then you learn how to control that. Then it becomes second nature. Okay. You can also find a coach. I benefited from coaching. I'm still benefiting from coaching. Find a mentor. That would be helpful. So you've dropped quite a number of nuggets here about people desensitizing themselves so that they can carry what they've learned in public speaking classes and communities to work and to life. And that could be really help them. I want to ask you, apart from work, do you do anything on the side, business and all of that? Does public speaking come into play? Or
So outside of
communication?
work, I've just started a TikTok channel very, very recently. And
Oh, tell me about it.
yeah, so my aim is to help educate people on communication skills. So I'm actually looking to do it more on one-to-one communication skills. I do have public speaking videos on there, but I'm more aiming to go down how do you build rapport, how do you ask the right questions, how do you be charismatic, more one-to-one communication, but of course have public speaking as part of the videos as well.
Oh, great stuff. So how do we find you on TikTok?
It's just my name, Blair Dall.
Blair Dall.
Nice
Okay.
and simple.
So you want to spell it so anyone who's watching this video can actually know how to find you.
Of course, yeah. So my name is Blair, and the surname is Dall. And a simple TikTok search, and you'll find me.
Okay, good stuff. And then after this, I'd like you to send me the link. We'll put it in the description so anyone who wants to get across and connect with you can connect with you. In your experience as an employee, one who works for a company, and you've also seen people in leadership positions, how do you think communication helps them, or lack of it, the ability to communicate appropriately, the lack of that ability, how does it impact team leadership?
So that's a really, really good question. My view on that, Stallone, is I'm going to take it from more of a one-to-one perspective rather than being a good public speaker. So what, my opinion, the real good leaders and the not so good leaders are the leaders who know how to communicate with different types of people. So a good leader knows how to change their communication style depending on who they're speaking with. So
Okay.
say, for example, me and you, Stallone, we're extroverted, we speak loudly. If we speak to someone that's maybe not as confident and a soft speaker, if we go in booming, it puts them on the back foot. So a very, very good thing to do is if we're speaking to someone who's more introverted is to match them. So maybe speaking a bit slower and matching that where they are. And that to me is what makes a very, very good leader, is having the ability to almost be like a chameleon to adapt to different people's styles. And that's how you become a good leader, in my opinion.
Okay. And you're absolutely correct. I see you're a fast speaker like I am. I get to be at some point, even when I'm on stage, I'm talking to people, I just talk to myself, like, okay, Stallone, slow down.
It's easy
Always
done.
slow down, breathe, just slow down. Because I just want to pass everything I want to pass on. And in my mind, I'm pausing, but sometimes to some people, the rate at which you're pausing is just too fast. You need to pause a lot more. You need to be slower a little bit. So it comes down to understanding the way people communicate. And how have you, is there any case you can think about your place of work, dealing with people where you feel personally you adjusting the way you spoke with them has really brought in some results for you?
I would say it's mainly getting on with people that you don't have a natural rapport with, because, as I said, for me to have a natural rapport with someone, they're probably quite extroverted, they speak quickly, But sometimes it's hard to build rapport with people that are the opposite to that. So as I said, it's just having that awareness of when you're speaking to someone to think, right, what type of person am I speaking with? Are they extroverted or introverted? And then, as I said, it's being able to meet them at where they are, and then I suppose you could say lead them to where you want it to go. But you need to be able to match them at where they currently are. And that's definitely a good component of being a good leader, is having the skill and awareness to do so.
Okay, thank you. One of the feedback we get from people is, okay, public speaking is cool, communication cool, but what if I have to speak on a subject I don't know so much about, or I'm not comfortable with? Have you ever been in that position where you have to speak, you have to, I give you one example before you respond. I know that some time ago, some people have said to me, when I deliver speeches and then they've got to evaluate my speeches, they've got to say, okay, Stallone, you are more, you talk a lot more about leadership, you talk a lot about communication, you talk about confidence, you talk about influence. These things are things that they just can't the way out for you. Could you think about subjects that you're not comfortable with, or presentation styles that you're not comfortable with, and start doing that? And some time ago, I started to say, okay, I want to do speeches that are humorous. And you know what? People think, oh, Stallone, that shouldn't be a problem for you because you're already a funny guy. And I don't count myself as a funny guy. When I try to create speeches with humor, I struggle because I immediately see myself switch over the serious side. My humorous speeches mainly is about passing a serious message, but weaving humor into it. And for me, it was challenging, but I think it was also a learning curve for me to say, okay, how do you think about stories that would inject humor into the message, but the message is not adulterated in any way? The force is still there, people still get it. And I really, truly did enjoy it. Over the years, I figured that when I get on stages and I want to speak, if on stage, even I just think about it, I say, this could be humorous, I just try it. Of course, sometimes you try something humorous and it doesn't work. Like, again, you learn from that and you move on. So that was my struggle, one of my struggles. Have you ever been in a place where you've got to talk about a style, use a style, talk about something you're not very comfortable?
Yeah, definitely. And it's about how you adapt to that style, like you said. So for me, when it comes to doing public speaking, I do like to prepare a lot. So if I don't know something, I do want to know about it. But as you said, you know yourself, when you actually go to speak, you're not going to be able to word for word say what you've said. But yeah, it's definitely character growth, isn't it? Being able to learn about a subject. So for example, I could be very much the same. Humor might not necessarily come to me as easy when I speak. So if I was to focus on that, it will be challenging. But like you said, the more that you work on it over time, you will become more humorous and it will become part of your style as well. It's all about character growth, and it's knowing your strengths and knowing your weaknesses, and obviously chipping away at your strengths, but it's also good to improve your weaknesses. So although I haven't necessarily thought of it in that context, it's a very, very good thing for me to take away as well. So thank you for that.
Yes. Okay. So you do a lot. I know a couple of times Blair have said, okay, still, Blair, can we do this or that? Oh, man, can we catch up and do this? And man, you are busy.
Yeah.
You're really busy. You've got a lot on your plate. And I really do understand that. So my question to you, which I hope that other people here that might be listening or would watch this after or benefit from, is, hey, how do you balance? How do you create some sort of balance as someone who's passionate about communication? You have a demanding professional life. You are very committed to personal development. I know that. How do you balance all of this? I mean, practical things that you do to help you balance so others can learn from.
This is not a question that anyone can learn from me, because I'm not an expert in this subject. This is something I severely struggle with. Nah, all jokes aside, I think what it is, Stone, it's about prioritization. So for me, I used to be very, very big on going to the gym, and I would go to the gym 5-6 times a week. But I thought to myself, what real benefit does that have to my career, or what real benefit does that have in my relationships, for example. So it's about being able to prioritize what you want in life and knowing what you want. So, for example, if you know that you're going to be public speaking related, well, it's about doing things that comes first, and then other things have to take a back step. Don't get me wrong, it's easier said than done, but I would definitely say that it's about prioritizing what your main goals are and then what your interests are come after that.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact, because that's the essence of this podcast. I mean, let's say it raw, because when we started, the main thing was to get people to see that, listen, the people that you see are public speakers or are good communicators, relatively speaking, they've got their struggles too. They deal with life the way you deal with life. It's not like they have it all carved out or chiseled out for them. They also do have their own struggles. See, when people come on this show and they're very blunt to say, this is me. I also struggle with this or that, but this is how I deal with it. It helps. I've also come to realize when people see people on shows like this and they appear to be all perfect and good and everything is going on with them very well, they just switch up and say, no, that's not for me. This guy, everything is okay. But when people see that, hey, you know what? This is also human. He also struggles with some things, but he takes communication seriously. He takes his skills as a public speaker seriously. Then I could also do something. Okay, so I appreciate you being very honest with that. And I want to ask you this. In the course of you growing as a professional, as someone who's passionate about communication, as a public speaker, is there anything that has happened specifically that you can tell us that has shocked you, like brought a side of you out that you never thought you had? Can you remember any at this moment?
I can't think of a particular example, but I would say it's just kind of going back to what we were saying earlier. It's about desensitizing yourself. And the more, how your brain works, though, as I'm sure you're aware, is like the brain always wants more. So you can use that to your advantage in the sense where, let's say you stand up and you speak for 1 minute. Then it's like, okay, so what can I do now? It's then 2 minutes. And maybe I spoke in front of 5 people, now it can be 10 people. So I can't think of an exact example, but I would say that it's just about that ability of always wanting more, but in a good way, is the main thing of doing public speaking, because it leads on to other areas in your life. As I said, it's like, well, I can go and speak to that person. I can go on a podcast. I can put myself out there. And that's where the confidence comes from. So although I can't give you an exact example, that's what I would say is the biggest shock for me, is that when you start doing things, more opportunities come your way and you're more inclined to say yes to things that you would have thought was outside of your comfort zone.
Good stuff. Let me help you. Let me help you and point you somewhere. I know that sometime last year you were in charge of a speech contest, and the whole, I would say that happened in the whole of Edinburgh. Did that put you in a place where you did certain things you never done before, and you look back and say, "Whoop, I was able to," because you pulled it off? You I mean you? I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Is you become confident by being competent, and that's a great example. Was before I'd organised that, I'll be honest with the viewers, I was nervous, I was scared. It was a big step up for me. But like you said, Stallone, with your help, I was able to do that. And then you then get a tick, and it thinks, okay, so I've managed to do that.
Yeah.
Your brain, what else can I do? And that's what I was trying to convey in my earlier message.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So for anybody watching this, there is something inside of you that you just are not aware that it is there. But the forces of life, the pressures of life would force you to grow. And I would always demonstrate that this is where you are and this is where you want to get to. In between, there is tension. And that's where growth comes in. When I meet people who want to learn public speaking or who want to grow their public speaking skills, and they say, I'm going to go back and think about it, my question usually is, what are you going to think about? You knew that you needed these skills, and that's why you came here. So why are you going to think about it? Because there's something inside of you that's telling you, I could do this. I had the last podcast we had. I think that we spoke with Peter yesterday. He said something that everyone has got a message for someone. but they just do not know who that person is. And so if you keep quiet, that message will not get across to that person. So we all do get exposed to things that will bring something out of us. And we then discover, okay, so I could do this. I could speak for, like Blair, like you said, I could speak for 1 minute. Or I could do 2 minutes, I could do 7, and all of that. So have you ever had a moment on stage? I think I've asked you this question, but I'm just going to put it in a different way. Have you ever had a moment on stage things just went on the way you did not plan? You were on stage, something happened, you did not plan, you did not know that was going to happen, but you managed. How? Has it ever happened?
It has happened actually. So because I've been quite busy recently, I agreed to run a Toastmasters meeting, and the agenda was it was done a little bit incorrectly, which is fine. So all the names were muddled up, and it doesn't take me much to get confused at the best of times. So when I was seeing all the names muddled up, and there was quite a lot of guests there as well.
Okay.
It didn't necessarily go to plan, but like you said, you learn from it, you grow from it, and you improvise on the spot, and that's what I done. I took it on board and I did the best that I could, and the night went well. And it's like you said, you have to improvise on the spot, don't you? Sometimes, and that's a skill in itself.
Yes, that's a skill. Improvising on stage is a skill, but that's even more, I would say that's an advanced skill because, man, if you're scared to death in the first place, you just cannot improvise when you're on stage. It has happened to me. I'd share one experience with you. I was speaking to a group of very senior people somewhere at the University of Sterling University, and somehow I said something, I told a story, and it didn't connect. Now, out of respect, sometimes the audience will be calm, but I look at the faces of people and I said, okay, oh, this didn't connect. And somehow immediately I followed up with another story I did not plan I was going to use. And that story is not a story I've ever used in that circumstance. And right there in the midst of telling that story, I tweaked some details to suit what I was talking about. I had no clue how I did that. Honestly, at the point after the speech, I said, come on, how did you do that? Okay, because at the end of the speech, or at the end of the entire presentation, I had people talking about the second story a lot more than every other thing I've discussed. But that was the story that was not part of the presentation, not part of the plan. But when I told the first story and I tried to draw out the application, I saw it wasn't connecting. It wasn't connecting. Obviously, the example I used was an example that would have connected more with the younger generation. It would have connected more with the younger generation. But for people like that, you have a lot of baby boomers and all of that. It really just did not connect. I had to just bring out another story. Of course, true story, but I had to tweak some details along the line. And I was doing all of that on the stage while I was also talking to myself and saying, I hope this connects. I hope this connects. Because when you start to speak, you're more comfortable, you're more conscious of, I hope the message gets through. You don't want the message to be missing. So the message here, I think, Blair, we're passing is anything could go wrong on stage.
Of course.
Yeah, it could go wrong on stage. No one is perfect and has all sorted out, but proper planning and preparation really does help.
It's key.
Okay.
It's key. And Stallone, sorry to cut you there.
No, go ahead.
That's a great example of you being able to adapt, and you read the room. You were aware that what you were saying wasn't connecting. So you were able to adapt to a story that you were aware would connect with a different type. And that's kind of what I was saying earlier on. Being able to do that is a sign of a good leader. So that's really, really good that you've done that. That's amazing.
Yes, thank you. And I learned from it. Have a number of well, one of the things I think people can take away from this, even if you're an experienced speaker, is have a list of stories and make out time to rehearse the stories. Tell the stories again and again. Listen to them. Listen to yourself as you tell the stories. Because when you have all these stories, and you're not making the stories for the sake of just making stories, you're making the stories because you want the people who are giving you their time to benefit from the time that you're spending with them. Okay, so I want to ask you this, Blair. Dead or alive, if you were to pick some leaders, we ask all our guests this question. If you were to pick some leaders, public speakers, businessmen, women that you think, man, their books or their speeches, their audios, their videos somehow have influenced you and brought you to this point, and you would like to have lunch or dinner with them, who would you choose?
That's a
Who would you
hard
pick?
question, but I'll try my hardest to narrow it down just to three. The first one would 100% alive be Tony Robbins.
Wow.
Yeah, Tony Robbins is the GOAT, in my opinion, of self-development. He's a fantastic speaker, really, really good at self-development. I've not seen him live personally. I know a few people that have, and they've all said, but in person, he's the best speaker they've ever seen by a mile. And not only that, they actually said that they were so motivated and so inspired by him speaking that it completely changed their life. So the fact that one person can have that much impact on a 2-3 hour session to change someone's life, I would love to have dinner with that person. So Tony Robbins would definitely be my first choice.
Cool. One.
Yeah. Second is a guy called Bob Proctor, who sadly passed away.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know Bob Stallone.
Oh, I know Bob. My wife loves him. She would always tell me, go look for Bob Proctor's videos, his audios, go watch them, go listen to them, read his books. He is someone you need to follow. And sometimes it becomes too much in my ear. And I say, oh, look, babe, could you just stop? Don't worry, I know Bob Proctor, I'll follow through. And all the NLP thing, all the things about Think and Grow Rich, because he practically breaks that book into bits. And I love him. So yes, I know him. He's a great guy. He was. Yeah.
He was a great guy, and it's sad to see that he passed away a few years ago. He's someone that I've listened to on a daily basis. And what I like about Bob is he's very, very good at articulating high concepts about the mind. And it makes it where anyone can listen to Bob. It doesn't matter who you are, what walk of life. I think we can all learn from Bob Proctor. So he would definitely be my second choice. And my third choice, I'd probably say Les Brown as well, because
I thought you were going to call me.
I thought we were going automatically, Stallone.
No,
I thought we both got
in. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Why Les Brown?
He's just an amazing speaker, and he's just a very, very motivational guy. So there'd be a lot of wisdom with those three guys, and of course your good self as well, Stallone. And I'll sit there and listen the whole night. Take it all in.
Man, these three people you've called, they are giants. Absolutely. It's like a good mix. Tony Robbins, personal development, Bob Proctor, the mindsets, neuro-linguistic programming and all of that. Les Brown, oratory, passion, public speaking par excellence, storytelling. Man, you have those three on the table with you, you are cooked.
Be the quietest we've ever been in our life, Stallone, when we're sitting there at that table.
What?
It'll be the quietest that me and you've ever been. No,
that's it. We would, if I sat with them, I would also be just shut up. I would just ask questions and listen. Yes. Yeah. So beautiful guys, and I hope that the people who watch this video or probably listening to this would go look out for this, search these guys, their work, what they're doing. But Proctor, of course, is passion, but Tony Robbins is very well there and healthy. Les Brown is also there. You will learn a lot from them. I'll tell you a story before we go about Les Brown. He was saying something. There's this program he was running about your voice. He's training people to use their voices. And he said, I can't say it verbatim, but one of his videos I watched, he said, listen, everyone has got a voice to listen to. So that means that you might be very good at what you do. You might be very good at the concepts that you put out there, your thoughts that you put out there. But there are people that will never, ever listen to you. But there are people out there that are not as good as you are, but these people that are not listening to you will listen to them. It's like you see something, it could be a bag, a pair of shoes, or maybe a watch, a phone, and you don't care. But somebody just tells you, man, Blair, this is the deal. And maybe he's your buddy, and you just for that reason, you key in. So what Les decided to do was to train people so that they can use their voices to reach out to those who listen to their voices, but will probably not hear his. And true story. I had a business partner back in Nigeria that did not like Les Brown at all for any reason. I'm not sure why. Then I do have a cousin that would die listening to Les Brown. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
Now, I was talking to my business partner and I kept talking about Les Brown. He said, you keep talking about this guy. I don't like him. And I said, you just haven't listened to him. You need to listen to him. And then he bought one of Les Brown's. I think he got a tape, or I don't know what happened, but somehow he took in one of Les Brown's resources. He listened or maybe watched a video, and that changed his thinking about Les Brown. But what I'm saying is that he wouldn't have had a chance to, he wouldn't have considered listening to Les Brown if I hadn't said, listen to this guy, because he feels so moved when I speak, when I teach, when I deliver workshops I facilitate, and he's saying, oh man, Stallone, you're so good at this stuff. I said, yeah, these are the people that I learned from. Say Les Brown, I never liked that guy. So go listen to him. Yeah, so for people who are watching, go listen to these guys, watch their videos. It will help you. Definitely. Blair, any final messages to those who are either considering public speaking or who want to take their communication more seriously, or those who are already there? Any last words for them?
Of course, I would say Rome wasn't built in a day, and fall in love with the process. As I said, it's massively changed my life, Stone, massively changed yours. We know hundreds of people who were very nervous and are now very confident. Doesn't matter what walk of life you are, if you do public speaking and you become a good communicator, your life will improve. So fall in love with the process, start now, and yeah, join Toastmasters.
Haymarket, fall in love, yes, very important. Fall in love with the process. If you have a Toastmasters club around you, find one, join. Well, if you feel that you don't want to be in public, you don't want to be you find a coach, find a mentor. It all works. Okay. I've met people who are saying, okay, I love what you guys do, but I don't want to be in public. Fine, find a mentor, find a coach. But public speaking, the ability to communicate and not lose the message is a capacity, it is a skill everyone needs to develop. And we say that humbly and with love. Thank you so much, Blair, for coming on the show. And I hope that there are people out there that will listen to your voice and will be moved to take action and become better people. And will someday come back and say, hey, I watched this video and, well, every other thing you guys said, no, I didn't, it was rubbish, for want of a better expression. But this very one worked for me and it changed my life. It's okay if you take 1% and it changes your life. Good stuff. Thanks, man, for your time.
Anytime. Good to speak with you, Stallone, as always.
Good to see you, my brother.
Yes. You too, brother.
Yeah, I'll talk to you again later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.